My next guest today is the epitome of just how far a mother would go for her daughter. After being born with perfect skin, little Mia's life was soon being destroyed by a relatively common skin condition, eczema. By 3 years of age, Mia's condition became so dire that her mother Geeta was pushed to the brink to find her own solution to the seemingly unsolvable problem. Pressing pause on her well-paying corporate career, Geeta went on a quest to give her daughter back her quality of life, and as it turns out, the journey has been more than just skin deep. Geeta Pawani from My Mia's Skin Relief joins me live now. Hi Geeta.
Hello. Hi Alana, how are you?
Oh, thanks for being here on the program. Such an extraordinary journey that you've been on. I guess firstly, what is eczema? What are the symptoms and how common actually is it?
Yeah, so eczema is actually quite common, particularly in Australia. So there's 1 in 3 children that have eczema, and maybe 1 in 5 babies develop the symptoms. And I'll talk just with regards to Mia. What she was experiencing was she was always hot, and she would get inflamed, red, irritated, itchy skin. And it would be so itchy that she would scratch and scratch and scratch, and it would often start oozing and bleeding and then leading to infection. And then so that's what led us on the quest of going to GPs and specialists looking for solutions. But yes, in terms of eczema symptoms, it's just red, raw, inflamed skin, and there's actually no cure for eczema. And I mean, as Mia has eczema, I have eczema. My mum has little patches of eczema as well. So there is a hereditary component to it. But I guess what I was seeing in Mia's case is she was quite inflamed, and I have eczema and I am not. So yeah.
So what's the point when you start realizing this is actually not going away? I think this is a serious problem. And I guess talk us through some of the treatments that you were being told to explore at that time, because I know that there were some hospital visits involved in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, at the time, Mia was 3 when she first got eczema, and it started on the inside of her elbows and behind her knees. And we went to the GP and got a script of a steroid ointment, and it sort of did the trick. But what I started to notice was that Mia's eczema was spreading to new areas. So now, yes, on her mouth, behind her ears, on her neck, on her trunk, on her back. And so then I started to investigate specialist appointments, and the medical analysis was still the same. They would treat it with steroids or antibiotics when there was a flare-up. And so I guess what happened was her symptoms just continued to spread and really reduce the quality of her life. And in 2012, I just remember the day when I took her into the doctor, and they said, go straight to emergency now, because the eczema inflammation and infection was all over her body. And my stomach sank, and I felt sick, like to my core, and it was heartbreaking. So we went to emergency, and whilst we were in hospital for that short time, Mia was bathed in bleach water. So that's just your household bleach, and which is a common treatment in Australia, and lots of steroid ointment, lots of moisturizer, antibiotics, and wet dressing. So she was covered head to toe. And so we came home and continued that treatment. That's what we were prescribed to do. So we did it, even though I don't use bleach at home. I was putting it in my daughter's bath, so that was a bit difficult to stomach. But I did what I had to do. Unfortunately, though, in 2013, her eczema symptoms were still continuing to spread, and she was hospitalised for 5 days. And again, the same treatment, bleach baths, topical antibiotics. We were using a few tubes of steroid ointment in a day, head to toe dressings, and that was multiple times during the day. And yes, and then we brought that treatment home, continued with it, but still her eczema was spreading out of control. Like even during that time between 2013 and 2014, we were under the care of the specialist on an email basis. So it was quite an intimate relationship because you'd recognise that Mia's symptoms were quite severe. And, and little children sort of deteriorate quite quickly. So we had to always act quickly with whatever we were doing. So at the time, we had also started 12 months of UV light therapy treatment.
Wow.
And so Mia, and I had a 1-year-old and a newborn. So the 3 kids, and we'd go to hospital 3 times a week, and she'd go into a UV light machine because she had these lesions that were like the size of a 50-cent piece. And they were all over her body, and they would be so ridiculous. They're called prurigo nodules, and they would be so itchy that she couldn't help but scratch, and they would quite often get infected. So the premise for the UV light therapy was that it would heal the lesions. But we went there for 12 months, still under the care of the specialist. And in 2014, Mia's eczema had still spread, now to the soles of her feet.
Oh, gosh.
Where I know, completely not able to walk. She was off school for a month.
Geeta, I just want to sort of cut in there because, you know, given the stats that you mentioned at the start of the show, it's 1 in 3 Aussie kids that will experience this eczema.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is an extreme case,
Right.
and you're trying multiple solutions. Were you actually shocked that for something that, you know, is quite common, that you couldn't find a product or a solution, a medical answer to fix this?
Yes, I actually felt so defeated. I felt so lost. I felt so alone. I was doing everything I was told to do. And yet my daughter was disappearing before my eyes, and it was real. It was and so I would always ask, what is causing this? And I was always met with the answer that Mia has eczema because you have eczema. And that's true. But that I wasn't in a state of inflammation, but my daughter was. And so we did have allergy tests. And my previous corporate background, my first job was, I did it for 10 years actually, was an auditor. And we would always ask why, and look at the root cause. And I was never able to get there. And we did have allergy tests. We actually had 6. So I made sure that I had the skin prick test and the blood tests, and she was in hospital actually 3 times. So she was, after that last stint, she was in hospital again for another 5 days when the eczema was on her feet. But nothing was showing up. There was, with the exception to dust. But and we had done everything for dust mite allergy. We no carpet, special mattress. She didn't sit on the floor. So I was like, no, I don't believe that. That's what.
Yeah. So when you're sort of going through this process, and I guess you come to that point where you're faced then with making a really tough decision. You've either got to continue down this path or of you know, exploring things that are already out there that they're telling you should be the answer, or you had to fight for another answer, like another solution. Yes. So I guess at that point, you've decided to hit pause on your corporate career and go down this path to find an answer, which is incredibly risky. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how you started that, because did you ever know at the time that was going to lead you to develop a skincare business?
Yeah, no, I never thought I would start a skincare business. But I think the pain of seeing Mia on this journey, seeing the life of our household, the joy in our household, our little Mia, who was always so bubbly and laughing, disappear and no longer make eye contact with other people or hide behind me was my breaking point. And here I was following this path. She had been hospitalized again once the eczema had reached the soles of her feet, but she was also now facing a prospect of long-term immune suppressant medication. So what this meant was at the ripe age of 7 years old, she would have needed regular blood tests to make sure her organs were still functioning properly, to make sure her eczema symptoms were under control. So I was completely at a crossroads. I was at a crossroads because the quality of life she was living was unacceptable. Her bed sheets would fuse to her skin of a morning, and I would literally have to separate them and make sure that she was okay to go to school. So her day would start crying and screaming, and I was like, that's not a quality of life. And then I could see that she was on one course of antibiotics and then on a course of antibiotics once a fortnight, and she was on one tube of steroid ointment, but now we're using 10 tubes of steroid ointment a month. And so I was like, I could see that the more medication we were using, the more her eczema continued to spread. And then I was completely torn. So at that time, yes, absolutely pressed pause on my career. My daughter's life depended on this. I needed to give my daughter my 100% commitment and focus and navigate a path for her that was sustainable and lasting and really get to the source of what was causing Mia's eczema.
So how do you even know where to start there? Because obviously, you know what I mean? Like where is this in terms of like, okay, how much money do we invest? Who do we start talking to in terms of a pharmaceutical point of view? You've come from a corporate career being an auditor to then having to navigate pharma and medical. How do you navigate that process? And I guess you have to really become the student then. You have to take on, advice from other people. And I guess spend a huge amount of time on research and development with no actual golden ticket guaranteed at the end that you're going to crack something that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at the time, Mia was in such a dire strait, like in such a dire condition, I actually didn't know what to do. But I sat in the question. I knew that there was something that was causing this. I didn't know what it was, but I sat in the question. I held the vision of her laughing and smiling in amazing health, as she should be. And I remember one day I was sitting in a course and I got a tap on the shoulder by my mentor, and she introduced me to a lady who was speaking. She's a renowned nutritionist, Cindy O'Meara, and she was talking about gut health and microbiome. And I was like, huh? Gut health, microbiome? And I mean, it was all new to me. And not having a medical background, having an auditing background and asking why. But it wasn't even from this was my daughter's life. So I needed to know why. And so what Cindy had said was, if you're on one course of antibiotics, it takes your gut microbiome 2 years to get back to its original condition. Now, Mia was on antibiotics monthly. So
Constant,
I was a mess when I went to see her, but I learned some tools. So I found that being guided by my intuition, using my auditing skills of getting to the root cause, just sitting in that beginner's mind of not concluding with an answer to say I know it all, because I didn't know it all. I was doing everything I was told to do, but just being open and seeing how my daughter was going. So it was, and I didn't have this path in front of me. I just took one step at a time, and that's all I could do, is just take one step at a time. And in that process, where before I was feeling so disempowered, like I was feeling so disempowered. I was like, I feel like I'm at the mercy of a new medicine and hospitals and I was like, no, no, no. But for the first time, I was actually feeling in charge and empowered. So we
Mm.
started this gut healing diet, and that was, we stripped away everything and rebuilt her gut lining. So how it was explained to me was that her gut lining had holes in it, and the bacteria from antibiotics and years of antibiotics and toxicity of products that were being put on her body and food that she was eating. So she was in a bad way. Her bacteria was not good. So we started with having bone broths and fermented food, and the fermented food provided good bacteria. And it was interesting. We did the diet as a family, so 5 of us, and it was tough, but within a few days we started to introduce more food. So we started with soups and broths, and then added mushy vegetables and lamb shanks, and really nourishing food for her gut. And during this time as well, I made a commitment to making sure my daughter was thriving. I started to peel away the chemical products that I was using on her skin, because I discovered, as part of my research now to bring Mia back to life, was, according to the World Health Organization, a person with eczema is missing that protective skin barrier. So what you're putting on their skin is getting absorbed into their bloodstream at a much faster rate than it would for you or myself. And even though I have eczema, but so it was just so important that what I was putting on her skin was clean. So I actually got the coconuts and made coconut butter, and got my dad to grow a neem plant, which is an Indian Ayurvedic herb. And it was funny, I drew upon my Indian heritage and added some fresh turmeric and just really raw, real ingredients, and just played with combinations that worked for Mia at that time. But the beautiful part about it was, during this journey of healing, shall I say, Mia started to smile. Mia would go to sleep every night.
What's that aha moment though, Geeta? Like, you're trying all these things and those combos.
Yeah.
Where's the aha moment where you go, I've got it, something works, it's a tangible product, I'm seeing results, and I'm going to create a skin relief program, an actual product to put out? Where's that moment? And then where do you go from there?
Yeah, so it was actually during that time, because one of the first things to go was get rid of that bleach. I don't want to use that bleach. And so as we started to develop, like as Mia's starting to recover, I just started using beautiful Himalayan salts and Dead Sea salts and organic, like just mixing them myself. Having said that, to launch this as a commercial range of products, again, wasn't a thought process I had at that time. It was just to get my daughter better. And my husband, and this was a journey that affected our entire family. We would actually, it probably took a year for it all to gel into place, and I realized this system. So even once, so we did the gut healing diet. Mia went back to her specialist. She didn't need long-term immune suppressant medication. I insisted that she get a blood test when we went back to the specialist, and it turned out she was off the charts intolerant to wheat, which was very easy to eliminate from her diet. And also she'd had 6 allergy tests before, but it had never popped up. So I don't know what the answer is. Maybe we had to eliminate it. And that's why I just find that sharing our journey is so important to help others that are in the same position, because we don't know, and it isn't so conclusive. But a mother and their child will do anything and try anything. So, so then, but even once Mia was on the path and the specialist said she didn't need any more medication, I was still not done. So my husband and I, we traveled around the world going to skin specialists just to find out more answers and more answers.
But were you using the stuff that you'd made this whole time and seeing results? And that's where you go, okay, well, maybe I can take away some of the other stresses of these
Oh,
medical
absolutely.
things in regards to using that.
Yeah.
And I guess what's that point where you go, okay, this is actually working on my child. I'm going to
Yeah.
put this into production because this could help other families and not put them
Yeah.
through this process.
Well, I guess that people could visibly see Mia look different and was acting different and behaving different. And I actually had a friend of ours that had a child with eczema, and I just gave them the creams that I had made for Mia, and it helped. And I think that was probably the moment where I had thought, well, hang on a minute, it's not just Mia. There are many kids. And if our experience and these products can help another child not being bathed in bleach, if that alone, or just have a natural skincare regime that they could use as their first line of defense, well, that would be amazing. So even now, I approach everything with a beginner's mind completely. I will never conclude that I know the answers. We are changing every minute of
Yeah.
every day. So it's a journey that is with me for life. I have the gene. My youngest son is starting to show little bits of eczema, but that's
Yeah.
okay because we
But how do you
use.
go because I mean, maybe it's not eczema, but I guess there's people all over the
Yeah,
world being told things by medical professionals, and that's it. You take their word for it. You're the expert. I'll go along. I'll do whatever you say. How important, I
yeah,
guess, is it to dig deeper and to question what you're being told if it doesn't feel right, or to get
right.
other opinions, or to find another solution? What
Yeah.
was the takeaway from that for you?
Well, for me, um, yeah, Mia, like we had done everything right, and she was not making eye contact. She was still ending up in hospital. So for me, it was that feeling, that intuitive gut feeling that something is not right. And later I found that eczema or any chronic condition, be it joint pain or is a whisper from the body showing you that something is not right
Yeah.
inside. So if we look at the inside first, look at really bringing our body back into balance and supporting it with really clean skincare, it does help. So
So
when do
how
you?
many like Mia's skin relief, like how much of this are you actually selling now? And I guess
Yeah,
what's the goal? Like, are you going to take this
yeah.
global? Where to from here?
Yeah. So, well, before making it a commercial range, I did work with formulation chemists. I didn't ever want to, when I realized that I was going to launch it as a business, I worked with me being me, 4 different formulation chemists over 4 years. So, just went through a thorough process. I was very clear that I wanted them to be certified organic, food grade skincare products. So just everyday skincare products. And yeah, so we started. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, Alana,
No, you
but
are, but it's just that moment, I guess, because what you've done is gone on your own quest, but you've completely
right,
invested all your own money and time into this product that's
yeah,
now being used by all these families all over the world. And so I think,
yeah,
overall, the learnings from that and where that's taken you from being an
yeah,
auditor to now owning a
right,
skincare line, it's quite
yeah.
remarkable.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Yes, now I'm back on track. So I guess like I, business can be just business, but this is my life. And now that this is, um, everything I do is of service and of the highest intention to serve. And yes, we did take a risk launching this business. We took a mortgage against our house, but that doesn't mean that I'm just going to throw money away. I'm using a very data driven approach to how I run my business. And that's again drawing on my corporate background. But yeah, it is like to create new products, to continue to market them, to continue to expand into new markets, into international markets, into retail outlets, but really just taking the exact same process that I did with uncovering a solution for Mia, is holding a vision for where I want this business to go and taking that one step at a time and not getting too far ahead of myself. Make really informed decisions, test products thoroughly, do my due diligence, and and really my vision is that no child should ever have to struggle the way my daughter did. And every child deserves to shine. And if our products are a vehicle for them to do that, then that is just my wish, that they can be elevated. And as Mia grows, I would like to evolve this range into more products. And so
I think it's absolutely extraordinary, the journey that you've been on, and you've stopped at nothing to help your own daughter, but in turn now you're helping all these other families that are going through this type of thing all over the world. I think the lessons are so much more than just going through the business journey. It is about so much more than that. And you really are a remarkable woman, Geeta. Where can people buy My Mia's Skin Relief?
Oh, bless you, Alana. I'm currently selling online, so our website and information on our story and everything we learned is www.mymias.com. And I really would like to use that platform as a way to share our story and our journey and the diet we did and the products that we use and just everything related to our skin and a holistic natural approach. And the funny thing is, within 3 months of going the natural route, we saw our daughter return back to her amazing self. But we were on another journey for like years, and hospitals and bleach.
It's honestly amazing what you've all been through as a family, and to come out the other side and still have a smile on your face and a skincare empire to boot. Congratulations to you, Geeta, and thanks so much for sharing your story here on TickHer.
Oh, thank you for having me, Alana. I'm very grateful to be sharing this story with you and your viewers.